Hi guys, I'm Gail.
And I'm Russell.
And welcome to another episode of our podcast, live from Vietnam.
I'm totally freaking out again because she's made me do it down by the pool this time so the girls can swim while we're recording it. And if you watch the video, she's even in her bikini.
Because welcome to creating a life by design and possibilities means you can actually work and live and make your lifestyle work for you versus being trapped in the only time I get to go on holiday is when I go away from my work. Well, no, we holiday our whole life.
And work while we're holidaying.
And work while we're holidaying and create a life doing so.
So the problem when I tell you about freaking out for myself is I don't want to just keep telling you, wow, Russell freaks out a lot. The reason I'm telling you that is I want you to see the difference in personalities and the difference in the way that relationships can work, and that how I have to listen to her, I have to trust her, I have to let her lead in this area.
Do you know what's really interesting? This is the one area, like not the only area, but like one very big area where I let go of control. Control is a big one for me and my personality, where I like to be in control and I like to know what's happening and things are going on. But this is a big key area where I let go of control and I can actually just flow and let myself be in my feminine essence, essentially, and allow whatever goes on to happen and be free flowing with it.
I think that's really interesting you bring that up, because I think in your life there's that idea that there's some things you're really good at flowing with and being free with and being spontaneous with. Like this, for example, creating this, and I'm like, no, I've got all these rules around it and I've got all these, I don't think that's going to work. But you just flow and are spontaneous, yet you see yourself as someone that likes a lot of control, which is also true. And we find that with different people is, you can be
like
really
bedtime, kids' bedtime, for example. That's a time where I'm like, I like things to go smoothly, and like I feel like I'm more rigid and controlled in my day in, day out in from that particular area, for example. Not so much while we're here in Vietnam. It's a totally different vibe for the level of control that I let go of, which is interesting because the other day it actually, and I know this isn't really our topic for the day, but it's so relevant to talk about. The other day when I was working with my coach, how close-knit my childhood wound of powerlessness is to why I want to be in control in my normal day-to-day life in Australia or in Canada, and how the level of control actually subsides, and like I feel like a whole happening in my body, like a calming down, where I don't feel the need to be in control, and yet I flow more in my feminine essence.
And then I think even when we're talking about the spontaneity versus the control, we took in the other area when the kids said they've got this massive event happening tonight. It's a big thing. I don't know if you've got kids, but if you have, you probably know there's this huge thing happening on Roblox, I think it is.
What other games that they play, or who knows what it is.
But it's like this big spawning event, and they've got to be there for it, and it's
20 minutes from 11 to 11:20 tonight.
It's like, so they said to us, can we stay up this night till 11 o'clock? And I'm like, I don't care what time you stay up to. So in that area, the roles are totally switched. I'm much more relaxed about that.
I'm like, far out, what are they going to be like the next day? But then it's like, okay, hang on a second. The amount of joy and excitement they have around this event, which, from an adult's perspective, you totally get that. You're like, I have no idea what they're talking about. Unless you're a gaming adult, then you probably know exactly what they're talking about. But the level of joy and excitement for giving them that like 20 minutes, half an hour, and then you can create inside of that. I'm like, well, the reality is we can come home from dinner tonight, they can chill out and rest and relax and have a different kind of relax versus total sleep, and then afterwards they'll go to sleep, and the probability is high that they will sleep in the next day.
So there's lots of growth. The bottom line is there's lots of growth in seeing your partner's strengths and weaknesses, or even if you don't look at them as strengths and weaknesses, where they're battling something and then learning from that. Like for me, being here and just chilling and relaxing by the pool, doing the podcast here, it's like a challenge for me. But if I can learn from Gail and learn to relax, I can create more possibilities in my life, possibilities that weren't usually available to me.
Yeah, and I think it's important as well to notice, like, even knowing that control and powerlessness, my childhood wound of powerlessness comes up, it's not like I want to get rid of it. It's more like I'm in a space of observing how that plays out in my day-to-day life, and how it's different when I'm in a different environment, and how to actually create more of what I want it to look like in every day, all day, every day. If you like, in Canada and Australia versus Vietnam. So that, but not from a needing it to go away. I think that's important to notice, because some people think like, I want that to go away. I don't want it to go away. But I want to observe and be curious as to how I can be at my optimum level of chill vibes and like flow mode in my everyday life.
What I'd like to do, I think, is I was just thinking it'd be good if they could comment as to their, you know, what they see in their relationship as perhaps the sticking points or the battles. So this is a common battle in a relationship where she's spontaneous and relaxed around doing the podcast out here. I'm trying to control, and that's like, well, no, we can't do this. And don't think that doesn't happen. I did say that. I said, no, this won't work.
He's like, we need to
There's
come
too
over
much
there.
noise. Yeah, all these complaints, right? So I don't think it doesn't happen. It's just that I'm aware of it. I'm not attached to it. But I think, I don't know if we can create in our Instagram, like every week, a feed for our podcast, where people then comment under the feed.
Yeah, what is the thing that you're challenged by in your relationship?
In your relationship, where do you
comment?
What is the kind of like the polar opposite, if you like?
Yeah.
So around the children and the bath time, the bedtime, and the what's the other thing? And the staying up. I'm more
chill vibe,
chilled, relaxed, spontaneous. She's more controlling. Around things like the podcast and being outside, and even going back to our early days, like sex, you know, like there was like sex outside. It was a big concern for me, you know, but to Gail it was not a concern at all.
It's an adventure.
It's an adventure, you know.
Funny, because you've just stepped into that your life is more of an adventure as well. Like you had a total reframe in that area.
Yeah.
And maybe this is going to be the essence of our podcast today. I'm not sure, but we'll just roll with it, right?
It's not going the way we thought it was going.
No,
to,
but that is how it is. Is how okay with you are you when?
How okay with you are you?
Yeah. How okay are you when it's not going exactly as you planned and you kind of like sideswipe? So like we had an intention for what we were going to talk about on our podcast, and it hasn't started that way, which is we could be freaking out right now and going like, oh my gosh, but maybe there's so much gold in where we're talking about right now, and it's relevant. And maybe it's important to notice it is relevant actually. If I sideswipe and bring in the topic, it is relevant because like you've reframed yourself into enjoying life and being like an adventure is one of your top values, right? And you recognized that the other day and reframed it for yourself.
First time I'd ever seen that, because I'm not like hold on, let me just go before we go there, because otherwise I'll forget. So yeah, so I think it's a good idea to look at your partner and go, okay, well this is she's controlling, he's spontaneous in this area, I'm controlling, he's spontaneous in the other area, whatever, vice versa, and maybe comment, and wherever you can. You see, awareness is a big part towards breakthroughs and changing relationships.
Well, awareness is the first step in any transformation or any breakthrough or any change that you want in your life. If you don't have awareness, you have nothing. You have zero power to create. It's in the awareness or bringing something to your awareness that you then have power to then create something different.
And then once you're aware of something, it stops being this battle between the two of you. And it just starts being, okay, I'm aware this is my pattern of behaviour, limiting pattern of behaviour in this case.
Yeah.
And she's aware that this is her strong place. She's good here. So I can, without feeling attacked at my childhood wound level, or at my ego level, or at my shadow level, I can let go of stuff and go, okay, well, you know, if it's okay for her, it must be okay.
And then a really important key in that is in any conversation that you're having, the person with the more certainty in the conversation is going to win. Well, I am certain that we were going to do our podcast poolside with whatever was going on here, music by the pool, water flowing, people having conversations, people playing football in the background, like all of this stuff happening. There will be people walking by. I'm so certain that we can create inside of that environment that, of course, Russell is going to lose, if you like, not actually lose, but like lose out in that conversation because my level of certainty is high.
Yeah, like I literally tried to take her out about 3 times with different complaints, you know. No, there's too much noise. No, there's too much noise. People too close to the pool. No, the music's too loud. I tried to take her out with about 3 or 4. And if you go on the video, you'll see she's got her bikini on. I'm like, you can't do it on a bikini. She said, we're not actually doing a video cast, we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, which is
just
voice.
Put it up there.
We put the video up as added bonus, so if they see me in my bikini, all the power to you. Roll.
So that more brings us back, I think, to the other point you're talking about reframing stuff.
Yeah, and reframing, we've reframed our life to be one big adventure, right? Like people freak out that we have homes in 2 countries or that we're in Vietnam for a month and home is here. And we have a frame and we've reframed our life that home is where the heart is, meaning home is wherever we are. Our children don't ever have a sense of, oh my gosh, I need to get home for the safety and security of being in the four walls of what you might call your home. They have a different frame, and we have a different frame that we hold, that is, home is wherever we are. Now, of course, do we love getting home to our house in Australia, and do we love getting home to our house in Canada? Yes, of course, there are things and elements of that that we love, but we don't long for it. We are present to wherever we are. And like our home right now is like the top floor penthouse apartment in a hotel in Vietnam, and that's how we're rolling, because that's where we are, and this is where we've created that to be.
And the more you can let go of these things in life, the more possibilities open up. And you want more possibilities to be available in your relationship. You want to stop living by the story that you live by about your partner, and be able to let go of the story. The more you do that, the more you create possibilities. So we don't look at, I time and time again hear people tell me, we can't do that because the kids are homeschooled, or we can't do that because the kids' schooling and education, or we can't do that. And then we just went, what do we want to do? Well, maybe we want to live in Vietnam for
a year,
because we kind of like it here. So we've been talking about it. We don't look at the problems. We look at, okay, how are we going to educate the children, and how are we going to educate them, and how are we going to educate them while we're here?
Yeah.
And so then we create possibility and create a solution for that. We don't let these circumstances hold us back.
Which, just to bring it into everyday people, right? Like when Russell first said, oh my gosh, I could totally see us living in Vietnam for a year, before we'd even got here, by the way, guys, so we hadn't even come holidaying. It's our first time in Vietnam. We hadn't even been in the country before. And he's like, I could see us living in Vietnam for a year. And I'm like, I could totally see that as well. But yet then what came up for me is, oh my gosh, then I'm gonna have to homeschool my kids, which I know I can totally do, but it was in conflict with, I actually want to enjoy my children and spend time with them, not necessarily being their teacher. And then like a week or two later, I'm not sure how long it was, but like time had passed, and all of a sudden a possibility dropped in that I actually could hire somebody for a couple hours a day, which is what they would need to do their schooling from a homeschooling point of view. And all of a sudden multiple possibilities became available. My kids will be educated and taken care of and doing their schoolwork for a couple hours. I now have like 2 hours where I'm not required to take care of my children, so now I can go and have a massage, take care of me, fill my cup, work on the business, spend time with Russell, whatever that might look like. And it's not taking away from time with them, but yet it's giving me more time and capacity to then spend with them. So then the time that I'm going to get with them isn't like split between trying to do all the things and juggle all the things like a super mom. I'll actually get to spend quality time with them once that activity, schooling, for example, is taken care of. But that all came from holding space of the possibility of living in Vietnam for a year, for example.
Yeah. And I think one of the things we struggle, looking at the relationship entity and taking maybe the 4 cornerstones, and the cornerstone of self mastery and growth. This is where the key point is because when we talk about stuff like letting go of control, so I've had to let go of control in this situation, and I've had to allow myself to follow go. Well, of course, it's not that simple for you if you find yourself really controlling.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're doing something that's a pattern of behaviour that was a learned pattern from childhood.
Yeah.
And if we chunk that down and dig into the foundations of it, what you'll realise is that control is a fear-based mechanism.
Yeah.
So why am I saying I don't want to do the podcast outside? Well, because people won't like it, people won't like me, it won't be professional, it won't look right, it won't sound right, there'll be too many distractions, I won't be able to concentrate. They're all fear-based experiences that if I actually worked on them for a minute, I could get back to where in childhood that became something about maybe failure or not good enough or inadequate or being unloved or not being liked.
Whereas interesting enough for me, the moment I step into podcast mode, I'm in love, contribution, and growth. I'm in a space of anything can happen. It's kind of like when we go into a seminar room, right? Like yes, of course, we know the content of the seminar, what we're delivering. That much is in our control. But who knows who's going to show up in the room? We've got no idea what they're going to bring. And that is a space of, you've got to, like, we have to be in a space of love, contribution, and growth. So the same is true for me in podcast mode. I feel like I can have a level of certainty around whatever might come, and that is as it's meant to be. So there's a level of trust, and definitely a level of like a letting go, and being present to what's so. So it is embracing that spontaneity side of myself and knowing the best way for me to be in podcasting mode for you guys is to be in my feminine flow and feminine state. And I think what's interesting as well is for the...
Do you think that might be the best place to be when you put the kids to bed as well then, Dave? Regarding that time?
This is called cross-coaching and coaching in a moment where everybody's listening.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe. Yes,
Do you think
actually.
you might be able to map that on?
I can actually see how mapping that on would actually transform how I do bedtime,
nice.
end of night mode. Yeah,
Nice.
totally.
That's good.
But also it's important
Exciting.
from a control point of view, ladies that are listening. Control is actually in direct opposition to your feminine flow and your feminine state and your ability to actually breathe into your body, connect in with who you are, and allow yourself to flow, which is the essence of your feminine state. So just for those of you that are control freaks, myself included, I have been a control freak in days gone by, is to notice that when you want to be in control, that's actually hindering your feminine state. And funny enough, on the other side of it, and I'll ask Russell this question so you can see from a masculine point of view, when Russell wants to control the environment as well, that is in direct opposition to the masculine state as well. It's not your true essence. You're trying to force an outcome versus being present and certain and holding space and humility and being humble. And what else would you add to that?
Yeah, I even felt myself as we kind of eventually sit down to make the podcast, I felt myself just drop in and relax. And I think from a masculine point of view, it's that groundedness.
Yeah, certainty.
The certainty and the groundedness that you
Iron
can allow.
rod.
That you can allow the iron rod. Yeah, not that iron rod, guys. Or ladies. But, I mean, that one is useful.
That
but
one
we're
is
talking-
usable from a masculine
We're talking
standpoint.
about another type
We're
of
talking
iron
about the iron rod that allows you to stand in a certain space and like you've got this, you become immovable, but not like from a, not from a not being able to move point of view, but like you've got it. Like you can handle anything, no matter what gets thrown at you, especially from your female counterpart.
And then let's just look at the events happening leading up to this podcast. Gail's like, we can do this, we'll do it outside, this place is fine. And I'm like, no, for all the reasons that I articulated before. I'm not in a masculine state in that place. I'm not in a place where I'm certain and grounded. I'm in a little boy state or a feminine state.
And interesting, normally what happens in any relationship is a woman would then move to a masculine state or a mothering state when they're a little boy in order to force an outcome.
And that's what, in this case, Gail stayed in a feminine state, in flow,
breathing,
which
hearing
there's
what he's...
there's no butting heads or contradiction in that.
No.
There's just no, I'm doing this, we're doing this from a feminine state of flow.
And there's an observation of noticing internally in my body. I could feel the need to want to force an outcome or go like, nah, fuck it, this is what we're doing. But I know that doesn't serve me, and it definitely doesn't serve Russell, and it 100,000 times does not serve the relationship. So don't think that feeling doesn't come up, or a desire to want to control or force an outcome, which is masculine state. But what happens there is I breathe and I just notice the panic or the franticness and observe what's going on for Russell, and then it's like, okay, yeah, we're actually okay, we will be okay. And I'm soothing myself in that internal dialogue. I'm saying it out loud for you guys, but I'm also pushing out love over there so that he feels like he will be okay too. Because in a little boy state, he needs to get that there's love out there and that he will be safe.
Yeah. And also always remembering when it comes down to control, what you're saying when you're trying to control something is this is the only possible outcome and the only possible way this can go where my life is going to work out and I'm going to be okay. Yeah. And it's actually, if you boil it down, it's actually where I'm going to be safe and where I'm going to be loved.
Yeah.
If this outcome doesn't happen the way I want it to go, then a disaster is going to happen, which is why with even something like putting the kids to bed, as a woman, you can, and I'm not saying men don't as well, but as a woman, you can become frantic over it,
Manic.
and manic and crazy brain because it's not happening. Because what you're triggering is a childhood response to a problem that you're in fear of.
Yeah.
Will cause you to fail, to not have love, to not be safe.
Well, ultimately, if I'll just use myself as the example, and this may or may not be the ones that are hit for you, but it's certainly what gets hit for me, is the childhood wound that gets hit for me in that moment is, one, not considered, because, you know, the kids are not doing what they're told, not considering me. This is actually my time now. I've gone into my time before I've actually taken a moment to be present with them, which it would be feminine flow versus childhood wound. Feminine flow would be present to what they need in that moment to be able to get them to bed, to allow me to have my time, versus not considered is like they're taking away from my time. And then ultimately where that not considered heads to is powerlessness, like powerlessness to make change, powerlessness to influence them, that bedtime actually needs to be now and this is why, and have them understand and really emotionally get the importance of it. And then also embracing that they are two giggly little girls who love to have a chit chat and a chin wag together, and they giggle and they laugh and they get in their bedroom and they have these moments together. So knowing that if I'm in my childhood wound of not considered, I have zero capacity to allow that to flow. Whereas if I actually go to powerful feminine Gail, I know that the reality is if I actually allow them, if I put them in their room 30 minutes before, then I don't have anything going on about if they talk for half an hour to an hour.
Yeah.
Like zero, because I'm like, I know they're still going to get like a fabulous night's sleep. They're still going to be great. They're going to be refreshed the next day. They will have taken care of them. But when I get manic about that, or like panic mode that it's not happening, and ultimately get into control, I then have the feeling of not considered, which leaves me powerless to make any change or have any influence in that moment. And that's important for you to notice as a woman, is like, and anybody actually, is you have zero capacity to influence over there, be it with your partner, your kids, at work, any environment you're in. When you're in a childhood wound, you become not your best version of yourself, and you don't have the influence that you may need to not force an outcome, but to create a possibility of a different outcome.
And you know, then this is what we're creating in the relationship. Then the relationship entities, this level of teamwork where you can see your partner at a different level. So even as Gail's talking there, I'm starting to have insight into how she behaves and how she is. Because if we look at that bedtime routine playing out, somehow little Russell, when he was a child, worked out that manicness and craziness and deadlines are not the way forward. The way forward is a more chilled out, relaxed, peaceful approach. So that manicness is then getting over there into my space. So I don't have any space, unless I'm aware of it, of her childhood wound. And what I'm seeing here as she's talking is one of Gail's childhood wounds is, well, not one of Gail's childhood wounds, sorry, but part of Gail's personality is to run on exhaustion and then complain about it. I wonder if you're like that. Do you run on exhaustion and then complain about it? Because it needs monitoring all the time. And so what's happening here is she's running on exhaustion and complaining about it. And so what happens when she's trying to get the kids to bed is, one of the things that's going on for her is she wants them in bed so that she can relax, unwind, chill out.
Have one, like, not be a mom for, an hour or two. Then also to create relationship time. But it's also interesting, I think, to bring to the point is like what I want in the control, if you like, of bedtime versus Russell's chill mode. Those are both the same thing at the opposite end of the same stick. And somewhere in between is actually the balance. So total chill vibes won't work as well, like for other reasons. And total control won't work on the other end. Somewhere in the middle, so there's a balance of how we as a team, as the parenting units, have to find the happy medium. So like, I've got to embrace a more free-flowing spontaneity around bedtime, which Russell has, and he has to put in place more structure and know that there are things that need to actually happen in order for, like, so there is that happy medium somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and I can even hear in this conversation that we're having now, Gail's got quite a lot to say today. So she's the words are coming out, and so even as she's doing that, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, but that misses the point of what I was just saying a little bit. I need to get back to that. But then I go, you know what, that's not going to really work in this podcast or in this relationship, because obviously she's got a lot to say, so I need to embrace that and let go of the control of ticking and dotting every conversation.
Yeah.
And if you can hear always what we're saying is yes, there's what we teach, but there's the energy under what we teach, which the energy under what we teach right now is I'm just breathing and letting go of the way I think it needs to go.
Yeah.
So I can be here for her and support her as she says what she needs to say about this.
Yeah. And I think is the more you can actually notice what's there for your partner, the more freedom you have in the conversations you have. Like, even you'll notice we talk live on these podcasts about things that are actually going on in our life, because it's a space that you want to get to with your partner where you can have those conversations,
And
where
then
you are creating.
Feeling the little triggers that happen while we're talking.
Yeah.
Because there's just this communication, and I can feel these little triggers as she's talking. And I'm going, yeah, but what about my point I was making about this?
What point? That's what goes up for me. What point?
Gail doesn't care about my point, but that's important to know that she doesn't not care about me.
No.
She doesn't care about my point in this conversation.
No. And the point, above all, the bigger point is there is no fixed way. And I think that is important. It's liquid and there's no fixed way of being. There's communication, there's connecting with your partner, there's knowing, and these are again the four cornerstones of the relationship as well. There's your self-actualization, which is actually knowing yourself and what you need to move and shape for you, which is 3 of the 4 cornerstones.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And she doesn't see...
And there's also the masculine and feminine state, really. Like,
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
take all 4, because him and his certain masculine state and me and my feminine flow, that's us at optimum. That's where we can be, like, that's where we peak at stepping into being master creators of our life.
Now, there's a super important thing to observe here as well. If you go on, and obviously some of the things we can't get over on the podcast will be on the video thing, which is why we put it up. But there's a really important thing to observe here. What's happening on the outside? Do you know the analogy of the duck on the water? When you see a duck traveling across the water, it's moving smoothly and gliding, but its feet are going a million miles an hour. That's what's happening to me in this podcast, because it's been like going in a completely different direction than we expected. It's actually not staying on any point, really. I'm trying to, in my mind, pick out the points that it's touched on. It's touched on possibility, it's touched on having awareness of self and partner, it's touched on communication, it's touched on the masculine and feminine state.
But isn't that addictive of every relationship conversation?
Yeah.
And I think that's the point. That is the point.
I mean, fuck therapy, seriously. Sorry if you're a therapist. But fuck therapy, because it doesn't get to the heart of what a real relationship is like.
No, it's clinical and textbook, and a relationship isn't clinical and textbook. A relationship is a moving entity.
It's a moving entity. It's changing every second, every
It
split
morphs.
second.
Yeah, it morphs.
And if you're not on your feet, if you're not ready to move and dance, you know, we call the relationship the masculine and feminine. It's like a dance.
Yeah.
If you're not ready to dance with it,
One of you's gonna fall on your face because the other one's gonna move, and then it's gonna pull and smack. Right?
You're going to get swallowed up in the complaints and the stories and the beliefs about how it should go and how your partner should be and what should be happening.
Stories and rules, and it needs to be.
Opinions, you know, it's endless what there is to get swallowed up in.
Even bigger to that. Like, I know we're talking about, like, overlying about possibility, and we're in Vietnam for a month, right? It's like, even the story that you'll have going on about why we can be here and live and work for a month and you can't. Why it's possible for some or us and not you. And that is just a whole load of BS, is when you can actually learn how to create that.
When we say it's BS, we don't want to, you know, BS is belief systems is what it is.
Yeah. Bullshit and belief systems.
Or bullshit belief systems,
Yeah,
whichever way you look at it.
That aren't working for you.
But I want to be gentle with these belief systems,
course.
because these are yours and they're important to you, and you can't just use a sledgehammer to get through every belief system without preempting conversation.
Yeah.
Because to you, they're not belief systems, they're who you are. So some of you are out there and money is a struggle. Business is hard. selling is difficult.
Travel is like out there somewhere. It might happen for 1 or 2 weeks a year, but it's not a consistent, ever-flowing thing. And that may not be your thing either, but like for us it is. But
and I don't want to be unkind to those belief systems. At the end of the day, the reason we're here is because of 30 odd years of working on breaking down my rules, my stories, my belief systems, my control. You're thinking you haven't had 30 odd years, right?
oh no, but in fairness, like even my journey would have began long before my age caught up to it.
Yeah,
for sure.
20 years,
Yeah, 20
maybe.
plus years.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that's the
Side note.
point is what we realise is that these don't break down in one
go.
go. You have to break them down over doing the right work over a period of time. So I don't want to be, like you're maybe at work listening to this or running during your break trying to listen to this, going, oh, screw them, they're bloody laying the pool in Vietnam. I mean, we're working here, don't get us wrong,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying to you is I was like that. We were those people.
And even take it away from us,
I was a builder.
I was talking to one of our team members the other day, and we were talking about the concept of being a master creator, and he said, like when I would have first started my journey, he's like, master creator wouldn't have landed for me because it just seems so far-fetched and like this out there concept. He was, just going through the mundane day in, day out, wondering why life wasn't fulfilling, or, he loved his wife, but he didn't feel the level of connection that they wanted, or the sparks and the joy that he now experiences now. Like, and he was depressed and not understanding why, because he had a good job and he had a house and like he had the things. He had a wife, the house, the kids, a job that was paying the bills, but he wasn't fulfilled. And so then master creator for him felt like this far out there thing, but he's learned what he's needing to, he's grown into, and he's like, wow, like I am a master creator. I can create anything that I want is now possible, because he's on a different wavelength than, that the day in, day out vibe would look like.
Yeah. So what we have to, where we bring this into a relationship is what can we create in the relationship? What possibilities can we create, and how are we going to be able to make them affect us right now? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to give up?
Yeah.
That's, when I sit down, there's one possibility, there's one way it has to go.
But even not what do I need to let go of, but what am I currently struggling with? Is my relationship working for me? Is having 1 or 2 holidays a year what I dream of?
Yeah.
Or is there a niggling voice inside that says, do you know what, I don't want to feel anxious or depressed, or like I'm living an ordinary life, or just have 2 holidays a year. I don't want to just keep doing the same thing day in and day out, because I know there's a niggle for more, but I don't even know how that would even become possible, but I know there's something more I could have. Yeah, and I think starting there and then being willing to reach out and go like, yeah, okay, that's the first step, is just going, I know that there is more that I want, or I know my relationship could be
Yeah.
more connected. We could actually love each other, actually want to spend time together, versus like having to spend time together, feeling like we love each other versus feeling like roommates or 2 ships passing in the night. Like, want to have sex, want to connect, want to go on dates, want to create travel, want to spend time together, either in your relationship or as a family. All of those things become more available to you.
And I think just understanding what gets in the way of all of this and what causes these problems in a relationship is our unwillingness to self-reflect and look at our own part in something, and our speed to get upset with the other person.
Yeah.
Our speed to kind of blame them for what we're feeling inside. It'd be so easy for me to have got upset with Gail because she wants to do this podcast here, and blame her for my feelings.
Yeah.
And then try to change her so that I don't have to feel this way. And Gail, she doesn't change that quickly in the relationship from my
From his point of
perspective. So the conversation changes from okay, well, what do I need to change in her? What do I need to change in my circumstances? What do I need to change in myself? What do I need to let go of myself? What do I need to give up? What can I create here.
Or how can I connect with her that'll have me experience it differently than what I currently might think is actually going on.
And then I think trust is such a massive issue. So, sorry, not an issue, such a massive part of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's really, I trust her 100% that her way will work, probably more than I trust my way. Like, whatever, if she says it can be done, then it can be done.
And then I'm not fixed on it having to be this way, but yet certain in knowing that it can be, right? So there's a fine line, right, between being fixed on it has to be this way. Like if I was fixed and had to be this way, that wouldn't work either.
Yeah.
So I'm not fixed, but I'm certain in what I'm creating and the atmosphere that it can be done in and what is possible, right?
Yeah.
Like so breaking down the belief, if you like, for Russell of where it is possible to record a podcast.
How good is that, guys? Like if you had a relationship where you were in a space where you had such a great connection that you could allow your partner to break down your limiting beliefs. You know, you've got access to that moment by moment. If you just know how to have the tools, know how to communicate. I've allowed Gail to contribute to it and break down a limiting belief of how this should go.
Yeah.
And that just is gold right there. That one little thing. You don't see your partner as that in your relationship. You see your partner as the enemy.
Or against you.
And let me just clarify that as well. It's not you that sees your partner as the enemy. It's your ego sees the partner as your enemy. So
it's your head-to-head relaلاtionship versus the heart-to-heart one, right?
Yeah. So we're always going head-to-head from an ego-driven perspective.
And like butting two heads, even if you think of it, two both butting heads versus heart-to-heart. Heart-to-heart, there's the scientific movement of love that happens in a space that you can't see physiologically. You know it's happening in a feeling, and they can get intertwined and intermeshed. Whereas head-to-head, you know, like if Russell and I went head-to-head right now, we'd be butting heads, like it would hurt after, you know, maybe the first headbutt, right? Whereas heart-to-heart, like we can bring our hearts, but touching and chest to chest, right? But like even as we sit here, there's an element of the science behind the flow of the feelings coming from your heart out of your body into somebody else's space and environment. So that love is getting protruded, even to our kids who are at the pool or waiting for us to finish doing our podcast. They're feeling our love and connectivity, even though we're not right there with them. And I think that's the heart-to-heart relationship versus the head-to-head.
Yeah. So I think just dropping back to a conversation we were at some point earlier was about the control and ultimately letting it go. What do you have to do to let go of control in your life? You have to trust that whatever the outcome, you see, there's like 1,000 different ways up the mountain.
Yeah.
But the view's always the same from the top.
Yeah.
And we get fixated on one path.
Yep.
Our partner's on one path, we're on the other path.
Yeah.
And what we want to tell them is why our path is better and why our path is right.
Yeah.
And so what we try to do is we try to drag our partner over to our path when they're sure their path's better. And in life, the same thing happens. So what you need to consider is that you've got this outcome in your life right now, or in some area of life, big outcome, little outcome, doesn't matter which. You could be putting the kids to bed, you could be buying a new house. Either way, you can be fixated that outcome is the only possible outcome. And this is like a subconscious belief.
Yeah, the only way to do it is the one way that you've got. So the only way to put the kids to bed is this one way. Or the only way to obtain a new house is this one path.
Yeah.
And the trust is the letting go of that there is only one path, and yet embracing that there are infinite, if you like, multiple, even if you can't get to infinite, but there's multiple pathways to the outcome that you want to create, being it putting kids to bed, buying a new house.
Yeah, and it takes a huge amount of trust, like even in the day-to-day, faith, even in our day-to-day workings, it is that we all have different ways of doing things. Can you understand even now that somehow without me, without me instructing Gail on how she has to do things, on the way it needs to be, and the way everything has to go, somehow she survived. Like, it's almost unbelievable, but somehow she has. Same follows for me. Somehow our ways work. But yet we get in this relationship, we get fixated on this is the way. And then your relationship, there's even another part of that, which is you get your relationship to work like such a well-oiled machine that there's just structure.
So efficient.
It's so efficiently controlled and structured that you're both in a controlled relationship.
Yeah.
And then you complain, you go, oh, it's boring, there's not enough spontaneity, everything's the same every day.
Yeah, it's,
all I do, what do I do?
Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat.
6 o'clock I take the kids to basketball, 7 o'clock I come home, 7:30 we eat dinner, 8 o'clock they go to bed, 9 o'clock I get up, I go to work. It's a bit late, I know that, but should have been maybe 6 or 7 o'clock, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
But you can find
You get the point.
that you end up in the same controlled relationship, which is still not fulfilling. So we need to be able to break free of the boundary of control.
Or the container. How about the container?
Yeah.
The comfort that you feel in the container of the rinse repeat, or the efficiency, or the model that you're currently living in your relationship, at work, with your kids, with your family, with how often you travel, with money, all of those things. Pick one. Pick all of them. Pick one. And the comfort level that you're currently in, know that that needs to grow.
And breathing is a big part of it. And just trust, breathe, understand there are lots of different ways up the mountain. Understand that any outcome you attach to, it's going to cause you a problem. Stress, overwhelm, control, fear, whatever. So
It's the not attaching to the outcome that I think is the key. Right?
Yeah.
It's the letting go of and trusting that, yes, okay, so use the podcast. Stake in the ground for me was recording the podcast. I'm going to sit poolside, beachside, record the podcast, and enjoy being in Vietnam whilst doing it.
And what I will maybe touch on this in another podcast, but lean into the tension.
Yeah.
When you have tension in your body, it's an opportunity for growth.
First
and what
tension
we
is
teach
Russell,
people
right?
all the time.
Yeah,
sure.
the first tension, if you like, was Russell, like, trying to take me out. Well,
Don't
I put this
resist the tension. Don't force the tension.
Observe it, notice it, got it, like I acknowledged it, yep, I hear you, and here's what we're doing.
And so, just to give to conclude, I think with a kind of live example, use this podcast as it. This podcast did not go the way I intended. It did not start the way I intended. I'm freaking out because I don't think there was any direction in it. I mean, of course there was direction, but I understand that at the foundation. But I'm freaking out because I'm not sure what parts we covered and what parts we didn't. I'm freaking out because I'm not sure that it had enough of the exact conditional elements that I make up in my mind
story
about
that he
it.
has
The
about what it
story.
should be.
And so I leave the podcast going, wow, I wonder if that even made sense. Now, I'm not going to watch the podcast back to find out if it did.
No, just trust.
So then to placate my frenziedness, why don't you leave? We'll set this thing up on Instagram where every week we put a thing to our podcast, and on that you can comment and DM and us from there about our podcast. But go on there for me and say, that was okay, Russell. Actually, not for me, for little Russell. Let's placate little Russell. Let's go on Instagram and
Russell,
say,
you're okay.
stroke little Russell's ego and say, it's okay, little Russell, you're going to survive, you'll be fine. The podcast was okay. We liked it or didn't even know that it was outside because we only listened audio to it. We didn't even watch it. It went, and I got this from it, and I got that from it. It functioned as it should. Now, obviously, you don't have to do that. I'm quite capable of breathing and letting go of the stuff I've got going on inside. But it really is the way that you give things up. Is you just trust that this has been just exactly how it was supposed to be.
Or the other comment to leave is, who are you? Are you more in where Russell is at during like this whole podcast? Or are you at more where I'm at, like at the beginning, and like are you a freaker outer, or are you a go with the flow? And where do you swap? Because there are places where I go into freak out mode and he goes into like total chill flow vibes. So notice, are you more like Gail or are you more like Russell? And when are you like that? Like, when are the times?
Awesome.
Awesome.
Very
All
cool.
right.
Well done, honey. Great job.
Another podcast.
Thanks, Amy, for supporting me.
No worries. Thanks for flowing and being spontaneous.
No worries.
All right. See you guys soon.
See you next time.
Bye.
That was